You don't mind.
All right. Okay, excellent. So welcome everybody. Happy Thursday. So tonight's pose that we are focusing on is Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So if you've been with me in this class format for a while, you know that we've done Warrior 1 and Warrior 3. And the question was always, when are we going to get to Warrior 2? Today is the day. So my thought for Warrior 2, right, is that in the story where the warrior poses are sort of represented is that it's a story of this warrior is created out of Shiva's rage, right? His rage and his grief because his wife has died because of this, great insult that's happened, or this great wound that's been created, through her family, is that she's taken her own life. And in his grief and in his rage, Shiva creates this warrior and basically says, go destroy things, right? That there's this feeling of that energy being behind the creation of this being. So in Warrior 1, we have this feeling or this sense of being in preparation, right? The moment that you are standing in and of yourself, saying, this is who I am. And Warrior 2 is that moment of preparing to actually take action, right? So you're in the preparatory for taking action, right? Ready to throw the spear, ready to take the action. And then Warrior 3 is where that action is now in progress, right? The movement of it is already in progress. So Warrior 2 is this moment where we often say we're looking over the front fingertips with this clear direction of this is where I'm going, right? We have a clear sense of our trajectory. We have a clear sense of where our energy is going, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. How are we projecting ourselves forward? But the beauty that I see that we don't often think about is that the arms are out and there's an equality between the arm that's extended forward and the arm that's extended back, right? It's not both arms forward, right? It's one arm forward, one arm back. So there's this sense of being in the middle of trajectory, right? So there's everything that came before, which is maybe leading up to that moment. And then there's everything that comes after. And when you're right in the middle, you have the opportunity to reflect, right? You have the opportunity to say, as I move forward from this moment, am I continuing a reaction, right? Which might be my rage, my grief, my sadness, my fear, my whatever I'm feeling. Or in that moment, can I change it to something else, right? Can I still direct the same forward action? Maybe I take the same steps, but I do it with compassion. I do it with forgiveness. I do it with love. I do it with something, right? So it's in that moment in Warrior 2 that we have the ability to look where we're going and decide what we're bringing with us and what we're leaving behind, right? So comfortable seat if you're not there already. Let the eyes close. And what I like about, the purpose of this class, the reason I teach it this way is to give you a sense that the poses are not just physical things that we do. So eyes closed. That the poses themselves have sort of a energy to them. And that by doing the poses, you're not just working physically as you are experiencing that same moment of being the warrior in your life and knowing that you are coming from somewhere and you're going somewhere. And can you find yourself right in the moment? Because in the moment is where you have the ability to shift, to change. So with the eyes closed, just breathe for a moment with that feeling of being right here and now. Wherever you've been today, let it drop away. Whatever you still have yet to do today, let it drop away. And feel yourself here. And try to breathe maybe just a little bit wider into that space, wide into the rib cage, so around the shoulder blades. So you're breathing not just up and down, but you are breathing to the right and to the left, so a widening of the upper back, widening of the ribs. And we sometimes do this in class, but if you would like, with your next breath, is to bring into your mind an intention, bring into your mind an energy that you wish to follow you through the class. So that every time that you place your hands, you place your feet, is you are reaffirming that energy in the world. If you'd like that, you bring it into your own mind. Hold it there as a focus. And then with your next exhale, bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om. Take a deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, please, and then come to hands and knees. So roll forward onto your hands and knees. We'll start with some cat and cow. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Good. And as you move, you're inhaling, you're lengthening your spine, lifting your chest, dropping the belly. So it's an arch to your spine, dropping the belly. And then as you exhale, you're rounding your back like a cat. Good. Dropping the chin towards your chest. And then inhale, you come through center again, lifting the chest up, tilting your tail up, dropping the belly. And then exhaling, pulling the navel in, round into your ribs, round into your back, drop your chin towards your chest. Good. Keep going like that. Inhaling, lengthening the spine, lifting the tail, lifting the chest. Then exhaling, curling and rounding, dropping the chin towards your chest, curling through your tail. Good. Keep going. Again, moving with the breath. And nice to try and hit that moment where you are not quite arched and not quite rounded. So you feel between each transition, the moment where your spine is just neutral. Good. Because that's really the mental practice of yoga, is being able to find the space that is in between your extremes, in between your thoughts, in between your reactions. Good. A couple more breaths like that. Inhaling, lengthen your spine, really press your tail back, lift the chest. And then exhaling, curling and rounding again, really pulling the navel towards your spine, rounding the shoulders. Good. And then come back to stillness, please. Let your knees go wide, big toes come together to touch. Drop your hips back to your heels, child's pose. Good. Stretching the arms forward in front of you so your butt comes back to your heels. Arms forward, you got it. Good. And press through the tops of your feet. Nice. Letting the hips become heavier and heavier and heavier. So it's relaxing through the lower spine. Good. And then one more breath to, again, just drop yourself through your seat. Drop yourself wide through the upper back. And then walk your hands all the way back up. Please come to hands and knees. Yep, back up to hands and knees. You're going to stretch your right arm out wide to the right. And then you're sliding that arm behind your left wrist. So your right shoulder is going to come to the floor, and you're turning your gaze. So you're taking that right side of your head towards the floor. And your left arm is walking forward in front of you on your mat. So you're twisting. Right arm down to the floor. Yep, all the way down. You got it. Keep going, keep going. And then walk your left arm forward towards straight, any amount. That's it. So you're breathing through the whole side body. And so warrior two is an open position. It's a sideways position. Shoulders are open wide. The pelvis is opening wide. Good. So we have to create the flexibility for that to happen so that we don't have this sense that the upper body only moves as one piece or the lower body moves as one piece. Good. Bring yourself back up to center, back up to hands and knees. Then you're going to go to the other side. Yep, back to where you started. Left arm goes out wide to the left. Slide behind your right wrist, left shoulder finds the floor. Yep, turn your gaze to the right. And then you're walking your right arm forward over the ear. Nice. Keeping weight on your shin. So if your weight is falling just into your knees, press through the tops of your feet. Good. Move your hips back in space just a little bit. Good. You're twisting into that space right behind the heart. Nice. Awesome, you guys. So that sense of where is the center between the extremes. We say come back to center all the time in yoga. We say come back to your center. And that just means, can you come back to a place where you're really clear on where you're coming from and where you're going? What is the energy that you're carrying? Is it habit or is it purposeful? Is it reaction or is it intentional? Good. Because either one creates karma for us, right? That's the thing, is whatever our actions and reactions are, is there's karma involved. But what we continue to bring forward with us shifts the way that those relationships and those patterns continue. We resolve karma when we are consistently moving our energy away from reaction. More intentional. Good. Unwind yourself, please. Come back up to hands and knees. Good. Spread your fingers wide, tuck your toes, and then take your hips high towards the sky, coming into downward facing dog. So hips go up towards the sky, knees lift. Good. Then let your heels move towards the floor any amount. Doesn't matter if they touch. Good. But let your heels soften towards the floor. Keep pulling your butt up and back. So you're trying to really lengthen that incline from the top of your head or from the tips of your fingers all the way up to your tail. That's it. Good, you guys. And then come forward to plank pose, upward push-up. So exactly as it sounds, just like you're in a push-up position, armpits over your wrist. Good. Now here's a tricky one. You're going to bring your knees down to the floor. Yep. Keep your butt lifted. Lean your weight forward towards the tips of your fingers and then bend your elbows so your chest drops to the floor, but your butt stays up. Yep. Chest down to the floor between your thumbs, but your butt stays up. You got it. Yep. I know. And then lift your chin as well. So you're like a little inchworm on the floor. Good. And then squeeze those shoulder blades towards the center of your back. You got it. Just lift your chin. Good. And then wiggle yourself all the way forward onto your belly. Straighten the legs back behind you. Good. Lift up head, neck, and chest for cobra pose. You're all the way on your belly. Lift up head, neck, and chest. Draw those shoulders down away from the ears. And again, squeeze the arms back and in. So you feel that hug behind the heart, hug between the shoulder blades. Good. And then release all the way back down, please. Good. Tuck the toes, lift your hips, come back to downward facing dog. Yep. Hips to the sky, downward facing dog. Awesome. Take your right foot forward between the hands for a lunge. Good. And then drop the back knee down to the floor, please. Take both hands inside your front foot. Yep, both hands inside the front foot, and then make circles with that hip. So move that hip in nice big circles. Yep, so you're in the lunge, you're circling the hip. Good. Yeah, again, Warrior Two is a very strong pose, but how it works is to have this integration of the thigh bones pulling into the pelvis, the arm bones pulling into the shoulders, and then the extension through the arms and the legs is a nice balance to that, right? So it's the squeezing in that gives us the freedom to get longer, to get bigger. Good. Keep circling that hip a little more. Good. And then come back to stillness, please. Move your left hip so it's on top of that left knee, so it's right in line. And then you're straightening your right leg. So come up on your right heel. Both hands are still inside the front foot. So back knee on the floor. Good. Straighten the front leg. Come up on the heel. You got it. Yep. And then you're walking your hands forward towards your ankle. So a straight front leg. That's it. Walking your hands towards your ankle. You got it. Ardha Hanumanasana. Half split. Good. And then with both hands inside the front foot again, so if they came to frame the foot, bring both hands inside. Just practice turning your toes in and letting your right butt cheek go wide. So you're trying to turn that right leg in, butt goes wide, and then come back to center. So it's like you're now rotating the leg in the opposite direction. You did the circling of the hip, and now you're just turning the toes in, butt out, and then squeezing back to center. Good. So just let yourself move that way. Again, we're just trying to free up a little bit of space of that thigh in the hip socket. You got it. Good. And then come back to where your toes are straight up and down. Beautiful. Lift your chest, deep breath in, and drag back on that heel like you're trying to pull your thigh up and into your pelvis, and pull the arms up and in so everything is sucking up in towards the center of the body. Deep breath. Good. And then exhale, release all the way. Bend that right knee again. Bring the foot back so you're back in that lunge position. Good. Go ahead and lift the back knee up. Good. You got it. And then step back to downward facing dog. Right foot steps back alongside your left. Beautiful. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Drop the knees to the floor again. Keep your chest forward. Bring your chest down to the floor between the thumbs. So that same little inchworm position, butt stays lifted. I know it's super awkward and weird to do, but the beauty of it is that it's getting into the creases of your joints, right? So squeeze those arms, squeeze the shoulder blades behind the heart. Good. And then bring yourself forward onto your belly. Walk yourself onto your belly if you need to. Good. Legs are straight behind you, all the way on the belly. And then press into your hands, lift head, neck, and chest, rise up, cobra. That's it. Squeezing those upper arms back and in. So again, you feel that squeeze behind the heart. And then release the chest back to the floor, tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Take your butt to the sky, heels down towards the floor. Nice. Bring your left foot forward between your hands. Good. And then drop that right knee down to the floor. So the back knee comes down. Both hands come inside the front foot and start to circle your hips. So again, just moving the pelvis in circles, big circles, little circles. It's whatever feels like it makes sense to you. Good. Nice. Any standing pose, and warrior two is considered a standing pose, is we usually get very caught up on the muscles that are working. So your thighs, your hamstrings, right? Shoulders, you might be like, this is really where I feel the pose. But what makes the pose easeful is actually the flexibility of your joints, right? So the ability for them to rotate. So to make a standing pose feel less miserable is we don't have to make muscles stronger, but we have to make joints more open. Right? Good. Come back to stillness, please. And then bring that right hip so it's right on top of the right knee, right in line with the right knee, and start to straighten your front leg. So front leg comes to straight, up on the heel, toes are going to face up towards the ceiling. So a flexed foot. That's it. You got it. And then walk your hands forward towards your ankle, any amount. Nice. You can use blocks underneath the hands, definitely. Good. And then bring both hands to the inside of the front foot if you can, and start to turn your left toes in and let your left butt cheek go wide to the side. So you're turning the whole leg inward, and then you're bringing it all the way back up to center. Good. And then you're bringing the whole leg, turning the toes inward, sending that inner thigh wide, sending your butt wide, and then all the way back up to center. So do that a couple more times. You're just rotating the leg in the hip socket. Good. You got it. Nice, you guys. Good. And then bring it back to center, please, where your toes are facing straight up and down. Good. Take one more deep breath. So lifting up through your chest. So you get a longer spine. Drag back on your heel. So you're pulling that thigh up and into your pelvis. You're pulling your arms up and into your chest. So it's a deeper stretch as you pull your spine longer. Deeper stretch. Good. And then release everything, please. Pull that left heel back, bring it back into a lunge. Lift your back knee up and step back to downward facing dog. Plant the hands, left foot steps back alongside the right. Good. Nice, you guys. Deep breath in. Deep breath out, holding downward facing dog. Good. Deep breath in. Give a little hug of the upper arms. Deep breath out. Feel your heels soften towards the floor. One more full breath, deep breath in and deep breath out. Good. Walk or jump your feet to the top of your mat. Yep. So you're walking your feet up to your hands, standing forward fold. So hands to the floor or blocks, reaching towards your feet, standing forward fold. Good. Take your right hand to your left ankle, please. So right hand reaches for your left ankle. Left arm reaches up to the sky. So you're taking a twist. That's it. Turning the belly over to the left. You got it. Try not to let that right knee bend. So draw the top of that right thigh up and back. That's it. Good, you guys. And paying attention to the lift of that left arm, that you're not just pulling back through the wrist, but you're actually pulling that arm bone into the shoulder into the chest. Good. Release and switch, please. Bring that left hand down and then bring it across the right ankle. Right arm to the sky. Try not to let that left knee fall forward. So pull that thigh up and back. Legs as straight as you can keep them. Good. And then again, paying attention that you are pulling that right arm bone in towards the center and lifting open from your chest, not just pulling the wrist back. Good. Let your hand float forward towards your chest just a little bit more, and then open from the front of your chest. Lift. That's it. And then release that hand down to the floor. Nice job, you guys. Bring your hands to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. Good. So if you have a block here and you'd like to place a block to the outside of your right foot, you are welcome to do that. Coming into eagle pose, Virabhadrasana. So your right leg is going to be your standing leg. And again, if you're using the block, it's being placed on the outside of your right foot, your baby toe. Bring your left knee up in towards your chest. So it's a one-legged balance, left knee up. Good. And you're crossing your left thigh over top of your right, and thighs touching, and then bring the outer shins together as well. So you're making like a candy cane, like a spiral with your legs. And then bend your right knee a lot. Drop your seat like you're in a chair. That's it. So that left foot might come to touch your block if you have it on the outside of the foot. Good. Arms nice and wide. You're bringing your right arm over top of your left in front of your chest, and then bringing the backs of the hands or the palms together. So you're squeezing the arms, wrapping the arms the same way that you wrap the legs. Good. Deep bend on that right knee. So the lower you come, butt goes slightly back. Good. The more this stretches through your legs, through the lower spine. Good. Yep. Bend that knee a lot. Squeeze the legs together, especially the shins. One more deep breath. Bring your elbows down towards your knees. Drop your seat even lower. Good. And then slowly release. Come on out. Really good, Maya and Anila. You guys, you got it. I know that's a tricky pose. Shake it out for a moment. And then let's go to the other side. So if you're using your block, you can move it to the outside of your left foot. Left leg is going to be your standing leg. And then bring your right knee in towards your chest. Squeeze it in. Good. Cross that right thigh over the left. So again, inner thighs are completely touching, outer shins pressing together. So everything is like kind of that, trying to hold your legs together like a candy cane. And then bend that right knee a lot. Bend your left knee a lot. And arms are wide. Left arm comes over top of right in front of your chest. And then wrap the forearms, squeeze the forearms together. And maybe the palms of the hands will turn towards each other. But if not, if that's too much on the shoulders, just press the backs of the hands together. Good. But you're squeezing, pressing the forearms together. Good. And then you're bending your left knee a lot. So your seat is dropping as low as you can go. The lower you get in this pose, actually, the more stable you'll be, believe it or not. Good. So get low. Nice. And then bring the elbows forward towards your knees, please. Give a little roundness to your back. Get your butt lower. Squeeze your legs. Squeeze the arms. Good. And then slowly release. Come all the way out. Nice job. Feet to the floor. Inhale your arms up to the sky. Take hold of your left wrist with your right hand and pull to your right. Good. So leaning to the right. Beautiful. Keep both feet flat on the floor. So as you're leaning, you feel that stretch go all the way down the side body. Good. Come all the way back up to center, please. Switch your hands. So the left hand holds the right wrist and lean to your left. Good. And pressing down through that right heel. So again, you feel the stretch through the entire side of the body. Very good. And then come all the way back up to center, please. Beautiful. Exhale, releasing the hands down to the floor towards your feet. Forward fold. Standing forward fold. Good. You got it. Step your right leg back behind you for a nice long lunge. Good. And then both hands inside the front foot. Take your left shoulder right inside that left knee. So your left shoulder is touching the inside of your left knee. So left foot is forward, right leg is back in a lunge. Good. You guys step your left foot forward, right leg back in a lunge. There you go. Shoulder is right inside the knee. And then you're sliding your hand behind your heel. So it's coming to the baby toe edge of your foot. Yep. So your arm is going to be pressing up against the back of your calf. There you go. Chest lifts up. Good. Scoop your left butt cheek under just a little bit more. So your pelvis is going to drop towards the floor a little bit more. And as your pelvis tucks under and drops towards the floor, you can lift your chest up higher. So drop your pelvis lower, lift your chest up higher. That's it. Drop your pelvis lower, lift your chest up higher. Good. It's a lot of work on the legs. I know. Beautiful. And then go ahead and release. Please unwind that arm. Plant both hands and you're taking your left leg all the way up and back to down dog split. Good. So a three-legged dog. So the hands are on the floor, hips are lifted, left leg is up in the air. So come to down dog first if you'd like with both feet, lift your hips, and then just lift your left leg up. There you go. Perfect. Bend that knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, and then stack your left hip on top of your right. So we say like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. You lift that inner thigh, let your hips rotate open, but keep pressing into both hands. That's it. Leg is still lifted. Good. Breathe deep into the wideness of your rib cage, back of your ribs, front of your ribs. Good. Point that knee down to the floor, please. Release that foot to the floor, full downward facing dog. Beautiful. And then drop down to hands and knees, please. And do some cat and cow. So back to where you started. Inhale, lift the chest, lift the tail. Exhale, curl in and round. Good. Nice, you guys. So we're asked in yoga a lot to have this combination of being very strongly engaged, very focused in our engagement, but then to also stay very soft, right? So we're not rigid in the way we come into the poses, but we're looking for that sense of easing ourselves in, easing our way out, even though we are very focused the entire time. Right? So this is what trains the mind to be that way, where you can be very focused in your life, but you don't have to become rigid. You're able in any moment to reflect. And in any moment with reflection, you're able to change course, change direction, change energy. Good. So being flexible is not just your body being able to do this pose or that pose, but being flexible is I'm able to change my mind. And not haphazardly, but I'm able to see my mind, my reactions, and choose the path that I take forward. That's warrior two. Come back to stillness, please, where your spine is neutral, neither arched nor rounded. And then tuck your toes, lift your hips, come back to downward facing dog. Good. And then take the right foot forward between the hands, lunge. So it should be the second side, the opposite side that you just did. Good. Right shoulder comes inside your right knee, so both hands inside. Good. Press that shoulder up against the inner knee and then slide your hand behind your heel. So you're bringing your hand to the baby toe edge of that front foot. Good. And you're pressing forward. So both hands are on the floor and you're lifting your chest up as much as you can. Good. And then the practice here is to start to scoop that right butt cheek under. So instead of your hips rising up, is you're scooping under so that your hips start to drop. And as your hips drop, you lift your chest up more. Good. And then you're remembering to keep that back thigh as lifted as you can, but you're scooping that right butt cheek under, lifting your chest. Good. Keep taking the chest forward, but pull back on the hips. Nice. Awesome, you guys. And then unwind that arm, please. Nice job. Plant the hands. Take your right leg back and up to down dog split. So again, you can step back to downward facing dog with both feet first, and then take the right leg up to the sky. So a three-legged dog. Good. Bend that knee that's in the air. Take your heel in towards your butt, and then take that right hip on top of your left. So again, like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant, you're opening, opening, opening. That's it. Nice, you guys. Breathe wide into the back of your rib cage. This is to make that feeling of the trunk rotating, very open, hips open. Good. Point that knee down towards the floor, please. Release the foot down to the floor, downward facing dog. Nice job. Come forward to plank pose, upward push-up. Shoulders over your wrist, push-up position. And then lower down slow, coming through knees if you need, all the way down to your belly. Good. Rise up cobra, press into your hands, point your feet, lift up head, neck, and chest. Again, squeezing behind your heart. So bring the shoulders down away from the ears and squeeze. Elbows should be a little bent here. Good. And then release all the way back down to your belly and stay for a moment. Hooray. Good. Stretch your right arm out wide to the right, please. So straight out from your shoulder. Right arm out wide. And then you're rolling onto your right hip. So you're stacking your left hip on top of the right. You're keeping that right arm extended. Good. So this is a stretch for the shoulder. So how much you roll onto that side body is going to be up to you. If the shoulder is really feeling overstretched, and make sure that you don't push too hard. But you're rolling onto your right hip. Good. And if you'd like, that top foot, your left foot can either step back behind you for balance. You can keep your left hand in front of you for balance. You got it. So it should just be stretching in that front of the shoulder joint through the armpit. Good. Nice, you guys. All right, Warrior 2 is about our perception. It's not perfecting the body so much as it's being aware of ourselves as we are living in the body. All right. It's not always taking what is considered the perfect action, but it's having the absolute best attitude while taking the actions that you take, whether they are ultimately the best or not. We might not know in the moment. But our attitude is always something that we can be aware of. The energy that we're carrying is something we can be aware of. So Warrior 2 is that. It's as I'm moving through life, between my past, between my future, I'm right here. And this is the moment when I can change. This is the moment where I can redirect where my life is going, where my mind is going. Bring yourself back to center, please, back onto your belly. Good. And we're going to switch to the other side. So take your left arm wide, straight out from your shoulder. And now you're leaning onto your left hip or rolling onto your left hip. And the top foot, again, can come back behind you if you choose. You can keep that right hand in front of you for balance. Good. Good. So if you have that top foot coming back behind you, bend the knees so that the foot can actually come down to the floor. So it's just resting on the floor. That's it. And you're just completely breathing through the openness, or maybe doesn't feel open, but you're breathing through that space at the front of the shoulder joint. Good. Warrior 2 is stretch for groins, is a stretch for arms, shoulders, back, hips. But it's all in open rotation. So the pose looks like it's going forward and back, but all of the opening is right and left, side to side. So to prepare for it, we can't just work the legs. We have to also have a sense of wideness, openness through the front of the shoulders, the back of the shoulders, the hips. Good. Bring yourself back towards your belly, please. Forehead to the floor. Bend both elbows. So plant your hands like you would for cobra pose. So hands alongside your middle ribs. And then walk your hands wider than your mat. Good. So your hands should be right about mid ribs, but wide off of your mat. And then lift your elbows up towards the ceiling. So kind of like if you were had spider arms. Good. And then pressing into your fingertips, lift up head, neck, and chest. So a wide armed cobra. Good. And with the elbows bent nice and wide here, maybe you feel a little bit more of that sensation of squeezing the shoulder blades together, lifting the chest higher. So you get more of that feeling of open through the chest, open through the upper back, and then push through the top of your head. Yep. Really nice. Good. And then slowly release yourself back down, please. Walk your hands a little closer to your ribs. Press back up to hands and knees. Come back to child's pose for a breath. So knees wide, big toes together to touch. Hips come back to your heels. Good. Again, breathing through the lower spine. Yep, knees nice and wide, hips go back. Good. And place to notice your reactions, right? What's running through your mind. Do you remember if you gave yourself or decided that you were going to use an intention at the beginning of class? Do you remember it, or have you already forgotten? Because your mind has wandered off to something else. Bring it back. Good. Next breath, come back up onto hands and knees, please. Come back to downward facing dog. So tuck your toes, take your hips high towards the sky, let your heels soften towards the floor. Good. And then step your right foot forward between the hands. Nice long lunge. Take both hands inside your front foot, and then you're walking your torso to the left until you are facing the center of your mat, the wide length of your mat. And you're turning your toes so both legs are straight. Wide legs, both legs are straight, facing the side of your mat. Good. So you got to lift that back knee up. Yep. And you're facing the middle of your mat. That's it. Exactly. So your feet should be facing straight ahead towards the same direction that you are facing. That's it. Good, you guys. One more deep breath. Mark, maybe take your feet a little bit wider. There you go. Awesome, you guys. And then keeping your hands on the floor, just a gentle sort of swaying from side to side. So bend your right knee and let everything sort of move in that direction. So like a side lunge towards the right, and then back to center and let it go to the left. Again, letting it be very fluid. So as you come back to center, go to the right again, it's not so much a bending the knee and then locking it straight, but you're letting yourself move from side to side. So in the sideways position, the hips move from side to side. Good. Nice. And then the next time you go towards the right, stay there for another breath and really press into the baby toe edge of your left foot. So that's the leg that is straight. Good. Maybe press your upper arm into the inner knee of the right leg. So again, you get it a little wider. Good. But press your left inner thigh wide. Yep. The straight leg. Push to the left inner thigh wide. Good. And then come back to center, please. Pause for a moment. And then move yourself towards the left, coming into the side lunge in that direction. And again, focus on the straight leg. So pressing through the baby toe, feel the right inner thigh pulling wide. Good. And again, if that left arm easily rests up against the left inner knee or shin, you can push that knee just a little wide so that it's not falling inward, but focus on right thigh, straight leg, pulls wide. Good. This is what we forget in Warrior Two, is that the back leg has to pull backwards as the front knee moves forward into the lunge. Good. Come back to center, please, straightening both legs. Good. Hold opposite elbows for a moment so that your legs are doing all of the stabilizing work. Upper body just hangs. Good. You can let yourself sway from side to side if that feels good. Otherwise, stay where you are. Yep, you're just holding opposite elbows right where you are, letting your torso sway from side to side if that feels like a good idea. Good. And then release the hands, please. Bring your hands to your hips. Find your way all the way up to stand. Good. And you're turning your right toes to face the front of your mat. So you're still in that wide stance. Still in the wide stance. Turn your right toes towards the front of your mat. Don't bend the knee. Straight legs. I know you thought you were coming into Warrior Two. No. Starting to. Take your arms out wide, please. Good. Nice. So turn your palms to face up, squeeze the shoulders behind your back. Good. And then notice if you feel like you're tilting that right hip point in, right? If your left hip is cocking back towards the back of your mat, change that. Lift your right hip up and forward. Good. And then drop your left hand down your back thigh with your palms still facing up and reach that right arm up to the sky. Both legs are still straight. And then feel that right hip bone pulling up away from your thigh. So it should feel like you're trying to tilt your whole pelvis forward towards the top of your mat. Lift it up. That's it. Good. And then maintain that and come all the way back up to where your arms are a letter T, parallel with the floor. Good. Don't collapse into that front hip. Squeeze your feet together. Nice. Now start to bend the front knee, letting it go forward towards the ankle, but pull back on your left thigh. Good. Pelvis goes straight down as the thighs pull away from each other. Warrior Two. Good. One more deep breath. Nice. And then cartwheel the hands down to the floor, please. Spin your back heel up. Good. And step back to downward facing dog. Right leg steps back alongside the left. Good. Come forward to plank, upward push up. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Point your toes, but then keep your forehead on the floor. And bring your palms flat to the floor with your arms at 90 degrees. So like you're face down doing like a field goal position, right? So palms down to the floor, elbows down to the floor. Yep, like you're doing cactus arms facing the floor. There you go, like a field goal.
Field goal was.
I know. If I say cactus arm, some of you don't know what I'm talking about. I say a field goal, some of you don't know what I'm talking about. No one knows what I'm talking about. Good. So you're coming into a version of locust pose. So as you press down into the front of your pelvic bones, the front of your pelvis pushes down, lift your legs up off the floor, both legs, both feet. Good. And then you're lifting head, neck, and chest, just like Cobra. Lift your arms up as well. So sometimes we call this like you're a parachute, right? You just jumped out of an airplane and you're skydiving, right? So lift up, arms up, chest up. Good. So the only thing that is pushing into the floor here is the front of your pelvis and a little bit of your belly, but lift up, squeeze. Good. Pull those elbows down towards your hips. Squeeze the shoulder blades. Nice. And then release, please. Good job. Good. Press back up to hands and knees. Take a child's pose, knees wide, big toes together to touch. Yeah. If we don't have enough openness in the back, when we come into a pose like Warrior Two, then we get stuck. If the back is arching or it's getting caught because it's tight, then the legs can't rotate, the arms can't rotate. So we want the back to be strong. We want the back to be supple. Good. Come back up to hands and knees. Downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, lift your hips. Good. Left foot steps forward between your hands, lunge. You're coming back to that wide-legged stance where you face the side of your mat. So both hands inside the front foot, walk to your right. Turn your feet. Good. So your legs are making a wide triangle facing the long edge of your mat. You got it. We call this Prasarita Padottanasana. Nice, you guys. Good. If you can, reach your right hand for your right ankle, your left hand for your left ankle. So again, the legs are holding you and you're just reaching. So no crossing the arms, same leg. Oh. There you go. Just holding the ankles. Deep breath in, look up, lift and lengthen your spine. So get as long as you can, straight arms. And then start to bend your elbows wide and bring yourself into a deeper forward fold. So you bend your elbows, drop your chest. Good. Yeah, now it's the strength of your arms, your shoulders, your chest that are opening at the same time that you're working the hamstrings and lower back. Good. Release your hands back to the floor, please. Good. Take your hands to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. Good. Still in those wide legs. Just turn your left toes forward towards the top of your mat. Good. Both legs stay straight. Good. Take the arms out wide. You got it. Yeah. Again, turn those palms to face up. Squeeze the arms in towards the center of the chest. And then you're lifting long through that left hip point. Lift it up, lift it up, lift it up. Drop your right hand down the back leg, still with the palms facing up. Take your left arm up to the sky, lean back. So again, you're stretching through the whole left side of the body. Lift your left hip point up off of your thigh. So the pelvic bone, the top of your pelvis, you're trying to lift it up off of your thigh and squeeze the feet towards each other. Even more, Dana, lift that hip up, 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 up. There you go. Good. You should feel like you're trying to push your calves away from each other. They're both moving away. Good. Now come all the way back up where your arms are out to a letter T. Don't collapse into that front hip again. Good. Now keep that feeling that your shins are pulling away from each other. Your thighs are pulling away, and bend your left knee, pulling back on that right inner thigh. So as you come down into the lunge, you're not just having all of your momentum go forward, but the legs are pulling apart and your pelvis drops straight down. Good. Nice. Arms up in line with your shoulders. Don't let them droop. That's it. Good, you guys. One more full breath. And then cartwheel the hands down to the floor. Nice job. Spin your back heel up. Step back, downward facing dog. Good. Beautiful, you guys. Slide forward, plank pose. Lower down all the way to your belly. Again, coming through knees if you need. Come back to that parachuter position or that skydiving position. So taking the palms to the floor in cactus arms, or field goal, however you want to talk about it, forehead to the floor, and then lift the legs up off of the floor, draw your low belly in. So the whole time here, you're drawing your navel in towards your spine, and then lift head, neck, and chest, take the arms up off of the floor as well. So it's like a Superman position, but your elbows are bent. That's it, exactly. So you're squeezing those arms in, you're squeezing up through your thighs, squeezing up through the chest. Good. One more breath, because if you're not breathing here, this is a lot harder to do. And then slowly release, please. Nice job. Plant your hands, press back up to hands and knees. Come back to child's pose, knees wide, big toes together to touch. Hips come back to your heels. Good. So you had one taste of warrior two. We're going to do one more hip opener and then come back to it so you can see if there's a difference. Right? Good. So one more deep breath. And then bring yourself up to hands and knees. Come back downward facing dog. Good. And then you're bringing your right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. And then bring that knee forward and wide, pigeon pose. So the knee comes forward towards your chest and out towards your right wrist. So your shin is going to be like the angle of my forearm, right? Resting on the floor. Yep. So your outer knee and shin are on the floor and your left leg is back behind you. Good. So your shin is crossed in front of your mat. Like this is your shin resting at an angle. Good. I'm going to spotlight Lorraine and Joanne just for a second so you guys can see. Good. So you see how their shin is angled this way. There you go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Good. So start to, once you've set your position, go ahead and walk your hands forward. Yeah. Nice. So we're letting the pelvis move towards the floor, drop towards the floor. And you're pressing through that right shin. You're pressing through that front shin. So it's not all of your weight just dropping onto that leg, but you keep muscular activity there, right? So keep pressing that shin into the floor. Good. And then breathing really long through the lower back. Good. So it's a very different thing, as you'll see, we'll come into warrior two again. It's a different thing to come into the pose with your pelvis already facing the long edge of your mat and then trying to turn 1 foot forward. It's a little bit more challenging to find that openness of the pelvis when we start facing straight ahead and we try to find the position of openness from there. So hip openers like pigeon or hip openers like this one where the leg is already rotated gives us a lot of muscle memory about what it's like to rotate one leg and keep the other leg back behind us. Good. And the joke always is, especially my joke, is that you stay in a pose like pigeon until you no longer want to get out of it. So we might be here a while. But another good place to notice the energy that you're carrying, right? Because the reactions that might be coming up of the irritation or the discomfort or I don't like this pose. We're able to watch that happen and pay attention that if there's pain, we change the position. But if it's not pain and it's just, I'm uncomfortable in this position, I'm uncomfortable in this state. To see if you can just let your breath get a little bit longer because you're not staying here forever. So while you're here, really let it do what it's designed to do, which is to open up the hips, open up the back. Good. And then walk yourself back up onto your hands. Nice. Lift your back knee, come back to downward facing dog. Good. Pedal your feet just a little bit so that you move any stagnation or tightness out of the knees. Good. And then we're going to set up same pose on the second side. So just let yourself steady and then left leg up and back behind you. And you're bringing that left knee forward and towards your left wrist. So this is important that the knee is wider than your hip point. So you don't want it to be crossing to the middle of your mat. You want the knee going out to the outer edge. There you go. You got it. Hips should still be facing straight ahead towards the floor. Yep. And then go ahead and walk your hands forward, please, once you found your hip position. Good. Sometimes call it like a resting pigeon or you can just call it your buckling down and surviving pigeon.
We call it sleeping swan in yin.
Yeah, in yin it's called sleeping swan. It's a nice way to think about it, right? Good. To find yourself here, this is one of those challenges that we say, like with the warrior poses, is that there is an energy to them that is strength, right? That's courage. And sometimes finding yourself in the moment that you're in is a moment that you'd really rather not be in. If you hear the train behind me, don't worry about that. So whatever moment you find yourself in, whatever's in front of you, whatever has been behind you, is the warrior energy is to not run from it, right? Not running to try to get away, not running to try to get into trouble, but to actually find yourself right here without running from the moment and to say, what am I carrying? Am I carrying my reactions, my grief, my rage, my sadness, my fear? Or is what I'm carrying forward my forgiveness, my compassion, my resilience, my strength? And it might be all of those things together. That's the beauty of yoga, is you don't have to throw any of them out. But with your anger, you can also bring forgiveness. With your sadness, you can also bring resilience. You can bring it all with you, or you can leave it behind wherever there is a sense of freedom. You have to find yourself first to realize when you're in a reaction. Once you know it, then you can change. Good. Take one more breath. Good. And then walking the hands back in, please. Lift the chest off of that front shin. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, downward facing dog, step back. And again, pedaling the feet, moving the hips from side to side, letting the knees work out any resistance, stuckness. Good. Okay. And then let your heels steady towards the floor. So this time we're stepping the right foot between the hands for a lunge. And you're going to drop your back heel. So the baby toe parallels the back of your mat. So you're setting your legs up into that warrior two position, but you're coming from the floor up. So the sort of traditional way that's often done. Good. And then bring your shoulders up on top of your hips, facing the long edge of your mat, arms wide. So we often say cartwheel the arms up, right? Take the shoulders up on top of your hips. Exactly. Arms nice and wide. So back to that warrior two position. Good. Notice how much more you had to adjust. So take a look down at your front knee. Good. Is it pointing at the second or third toe of your foot, or is it trying to fall in? It's trying to fall in. So straighten that front leg again for a moment. Feel that lift of the front hip point. Good. And then as you start to bend that knee, track with your eyes that it's pointing towards the second toe. So start to bend the knee, point it at the second toe, and let your back hip turn forward as much as it needs to make that possible. So as you're widening that front knee, your right butt cheek is going to start to come in towards the midline. Let your left hip spin forward. It's not going to be a perfect sideways position anymore. No problem. Good. Focus on your back thigh again. Pull your back thigh away. Lift those arms up in line with your shoulders. Don't let them droop. Good. Keep that pressure of the front knee widening and your back thigh pulling away. Good. And now twist your left rib cage back towards the back of your mat, just a tiny bit. Don't let your knee fall in. Good. Now, where is your gaze? Where are you looking? Over your front fingertips, please. There you go. And then reaching back through your left hand, like you're reaching into your own past. There's someone behind you. And reaching forward with your right hand. There's someone in front of you. Reach for that too. Good. One more full breath. And then drop the left hand down the back thigh, right palm spins up and back. So your legs are still in warrior two, but lift that right arm to the sky. Again, stretch through the front of the body, front knee bent on this one. So keep the front knee bent. That's it. Yep. Good. And then come all the way back up to center, please. Release the hands down to the floor. Step back, downward facing dog. Good. I know we're not doing a lot of fancy business in between. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. A little bit of the endurance, right? Hang out in dog if you can.
Resting pose.
Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Hips lifted in dog if you can. If not, hands and knees or child's pose is fine. One more breath. Right? There's just these moments, right, where we maintain the energy. So we don't give up the moment the pose is over, the moment the hard part of our life seems to be over. We don't give up. We stay engaged. Good. Step your left foot forward between the hands. And then take your back heel flat. Baby toe parallels the back of your mat. So there you're already setting the rotation of that back leg. Cartwheel the arms up so your shoulders are on top of your hips. Arms out wide, letter T. Good. Take a look at where your front knee is pointing. You're like, I don't know. So straighten your front thigh. Good. And then press into your big toe mound. Start to bend the knee, tracking where that knee is pointing. Keep it pointing at the second or third toe, so the middle of your foot. And however much your back hip has to spin forward to let that happen, let that happen. Good. And then try and find where you are pulling back on your right thigh as much as you are leaning forward into that left thigh. Good. So there should actually be a feeling of almost pulling backwards stronger than the momentum of going forward. Good. And then again, you're reaching through both hands. So nice, strong arms. Again, like you're doing a tug of war type of thing. You're reaching to the back. You're reaching to the front. Gaze over the front fingertips. Good. Pelvis is dropping towards the floor, but crown of the head pulls up. That's it. Right rib cage rotates back a tiny bit towards the back of your mat. Turn your ribs. Yes. And then drop that right hand down the back thigh. Left palm reaches up towards the sky. Turn it towards you and then reach up. Good. Keep that front knee bent. Don't come out of the lunge. Let your thigh drop even lower. You think you're too tired? Drop lower. Think you can't hold it? One more breath. Breathe in, drop lower. Good. Come all the way back up to center, please. Cartwheel the hands down to the floor. Step back, downward facing dog. 3 full breaths in dog. Don't give up. This is that warrior energy, right? That the more you give yourself the chance, breathe in this moment, even though it might be challenging. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time, breathe in dog, and breathe out. Good. Walk your feet forward towards your hands, please. Separate your feet as wide as your mat. Turn both feet out to 45 degrees. Bend your knees, come into squat. Good. If you need to have a rolled blanket underneath your heels here, totally fine. If you need to have a little block underneath your butt, also fine. You're not holding forever, so just a couple of breaths in squat, dropping your seat. Pressing your elbows wide into your knees so that you have this feeling of getting wide through your shoulders. So push your hands together, right? Strong, push them together. And then pull your elbows apart. Chest up. That's it. There you go. One more breath, reaching as tall as you can. And then release the hands. Come on down gracefully to sit on your butt. Good job. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Good. Right leg stays straight. Bend your left knee. Bring the bottom of your left foot to the inside of your right thigh and let your left knee drop open. So the right leg is straight. Left knee is bent inside the thigh. Good. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Good. Twist your belly just a little bit towards that straight leg and then bow forward. You got it. So you're bowing over the straight leg all the way over. Good. Warrior 2, again, in the progression is warrior 1 is finding yourself in the experience, the moment. This is who I believe I am. Warrior 2 is that this is how I move myself through my life, where I've come from, where I'm going. This is my awareness of myself in motion. And warrior 3 is when I take action, that's when we're supposed to give up the results, right? As we are no longer in control of what goes on. Action has been taken. And we're back to that beginning of the cycle of how do you receive the moment that you're in that is the result of actions that you've taken, right? This is what we call karma, is that constant cycle. Things happen and we participate, and then more things happen and we receive that, and then we participate and we keep going and going and going and going and going. So it's in that moment in warrior 2 that you have the greatest control, because you don't get to decide what moment comes to you. And you don't get to decide always once you've taken an action what will happen because of it. But in Warrior 2, that moment of reflection, you're able to change course, change energy. Walk yourself all the way back up, please. Switch the legs. Left leg comes straight. Bend the right knee, foot to the inside of the left thigh. Good, you got it. Take the arms up. Then you're twisting the belly towards the left leg, so towards the straight leg again, and then bow forward. Good, and I am giving you more time in this forward fold than we typically spend, right? We kind of do three breaths and then move on. But I want you to kind of stay. I want you to really work in that feeling of relaxing into this position, because it has a lot of the same elements of Warrior 2, believe it or not, right? One hip open. Breathing through the wideness of your shoulders. Being able to feel what is moving through you at any moment, and to be able to give up on where it came from. A lot of times that's what happens, is we have a feeling or we have a thought and we're like, oh, I can't possibly get rid of it because it's attached to this, that, and the other thing. I can't forget about those things. I can't ignore it. So I have to have this feeling. I have to continue to act this way. Yoga says there's the moment where you realize that you don't have to do anything. But since you're in the world, you're participating. And so the energy that you are carrying, even if you are doing nothing, is creating results. It's in the Bhagavad Gita, they say that. So we learn to cultivate what energy are you carrying, right? What's running through you moment to moment. That moment of reflection, I have the ability to change. But if I'm not reflecting, I'm not paying attention, and the energy of my reactions, my emotions will just keep carrying me along. Good. Walk yourself back up, please. Nice job. Good. Take the feet, both feet out in front of you. Find your way onto your backs. Yep. Bend the knees. Roll yourself down onto your backs. Good. And then plant the feet, hips width apart, knees bent. Good. Arms are either straight alongside you with the palms pressing down, or you are bending the elbows so that your fingers point up towards the sky, like robot arms, the word we have for it. So either one, arms can be straight or elbows bent. Press down through the upper arms, either way. Press into your feet. Start to peel your spine up off the floor into bridge. So from the back of your heart, you begin to lift up, hugging the shoulder blades towards each other, lifting the back of the heart, and then lifting the hips as well. Good. Pressing down firm into the feet. So don't let your weight fall all the way into your shoulders. Pull your weight into your feet. Again, that same feeling of I have to pull myself in both directions, forward and back. Good. And then slowly unpeel your spine, or bring your spine back to the floor, rolling through each vertebra if you can, so you're not just dropping yourself straight. Good. Make any adjustments you need, moving the feet or the arms. And then find your way back into bridge, pressing into the upper arms, pressing into your feet. Again, peeling the spine up off of the floor. So it's not just a hard push, it's an actual peel. It's I feel my back working instead of I feel my hips pushing. Good. And maybe you feel that even more by taking your right leg up to the sky. If right leg all the way up does not work, just come onto the tippy toes of your right foot so you change your weight. Awesome. Nice. And then release that foot down to the floor, please. Take your left leg up if you took the right one up. Good. Again, keeping that connection to the work in your back. You're not just pushing up through your hips. Good. Release the foot to the floor. Roll yourself back down your spine. Don't drop yourself. Again, part of the practice is not to give up as soon as you think the work of the pose is over. Because most often where we get hurt in a pose, if we're going to get hurt at any point, is most often coming out of a posture. It's where most injuries happen. Good. You have one more bridge pose. So again, make any adjustments that you need. And then again, setting the arms. Begin to peel the spine up off the floor, lifting from the back of your heart all the way up through the pelvis. Lift the hips. Good. Again, feeling yourself pulling your butt towards your heels, but your heart towards your head. Nice. And then unpeel or roll your spine back down towards the floor. Beautiful. Separate your feet a little wider on your mat. And then windshield wiper, so dropping the knees to the right and to the left. So both knees same direction, to the right and then to the left. Good. Again, just freeing up pelvis. And then find your way back to center, please. Bringing both knees in towards your chest, squeeze them in. Bring your knees wide towards your armpits and then reach for your ankles or your feet for happy baby. So elbows inside the knees is easiest. Good. So you're reaching for the ankles or the feet, and then you're stacking your heels on top of your knees. So it's like you're doing a squat on your back. So your heels, your feet face up towards the ceiling. Knees are bent on either side of the hips. Good. Flex the feet. There you go. Yep, keep the feet up towards the ceiling if you can. So again, stretching both hips, groins. Beautiful. And then squeeze the knees all the way back together, please. Scoot your hips over to the left, lift and shift them to the left. Drop your knees to the right, spinal twist. Keep the knees stacked on top of each other. Left arm goes wide. Good. And if reaching straight back through the arm feels like it's a little too much on the shoulder, you can take that arm up alongside your ear instead. Good. And then come back to center, please. Lift and shift your hips over to the right, and then drop your knees to the left. Again, keeping the knees stacked on top of each other. Good, Mark, let them come all the way down to the floor. Yeah, even if it means that your shoulder pops up. Yeah. Yep, let the knees all the way down to the floor. There you go. Good, and then bring yourself back to center, please. Squeezing the knees in. Awesome. Stretch the legs out in front of you. Let the feet drop wide. Take the arms alongside you, palms face up. Shavasana, your final relaxation. Now here is where you can release all of your effort because the work of the postures is done. And Shavasana is where you allow the energy that you have generated to seep in. So here is a good place to come back to your intention if you had one. Choose an intention if you didn't have one. And let that seep in. You actually receive the moment that you have helped to create. And if that sounds like too much effort to think about, just breathe. Very gently bring your awareness back to your breath. And your body come back to any sorts of movements that serve it well. Stretch and move. And then as you're ready, bring your knees in towards your chest and roll to your right side. Taking a moment there before you begin to push the floor away, come back to an upright seated position. Hands coming together, palm to palm in front of the heart. You can imagine that, like that extended arm in Warrior Two reaching from side to side, is that if you were to bring those hands together into one place, it would be this position right here. So instead of reaching into the past or into the future, you find yourself right here where you are. And where you are is always the same place. It's inside. This is the teaching of yoga, is that you will always be in that cycle of acting in the world. There's always going to be things going on, and whatever you do or don't do, you're participating. But where you are is always right here. So if you can reflect on what your mind is doing, you can feel the energy that you're carrying, you have that opportunity to change the course of your life, to change the course of your mind. But you have to notice. So we practice coming back to being right here. And whatever that moment is, we don't run away from it, but we feel, what am I carrying from the past, and what do I wish to carry forward, and what can be left behind? But this is it. You bring yourself always back to center, your center, right here. The whole practice of yoga is that. Close with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Sliding your thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week until I see you again. Maya and Anila, great job. You tackled a lot.
Thank you.
Good job. I will see you guys soon.